They say the truth will set you free. But not before it breaks you. And not before it reveals what you've spent a lifetime trying not to see. In the dim corridors of your mind, there is a presence you pretend isn't there. A whisper you silence. A mirror you avoid. The part of you that watches from the corner. Waiting. Unjudged. Unseen. And utterly necessary. This is the shadow. Not evil, not monstrous by nature, though sometimes it takes monstrous forms. But simply, profoundly. The parts of you that do not fit the image you created. The you would rather not be. The thoughts you dismiss. The anger you repress. The needs you disown. The truths you bury under smiles, productivity, and borrowed beliefs. You've been taught to fear this shadow. To fear yourself. To run toward the light. To purify. To be good. But the light without the shadow is not wholeness. It is blindness. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." What he meant was this: if you cannot look at what is broken within you, you will never truly know what is whole. Now, your envy. Ah yes, envy. How quickly we distance ourselves from it. We see another succeed, and we feel a pang. A shameful ache, unspoken. And then we moralize, "I'm happy for them. I don't care about those things. I'm above comparison." But the soul is not above envy. It envies because it desires. And what you desire is a map to what you lack. And what you lack is a window to your shadow. Then there is fear. Not the survival instinct, not the sharp edge of threat. But the deeper fear. The fear of your own potential. The fear of what you might become if you no longer played small. What if the part of you that feels meaningless is not a weakness, but a call? What if you've confused safety with self-erasure? What if your fear is not asking to be vanquished, but understood? You've been building a version of yourself since childhood, a self that fits in. That behaves. That conforms to the unspoken contract of love and acceptance. Be this, and you will be loved. Act this way, and you will not be abandoned. Don't be too loud, too sensitive, too needy, too ambitious, too strange. And so you learn to amputate parts of yourself. But what is disowned does not disappear. It waits. In dreams, in slips of the tongue, in sudden bursts of emotion. It returns as projection, when you see in others what you can't face in yourself. The arrogant, the reckless, the overly emotional, you hate them because they wear your shadow. They embody what you were not allowed to be. And so the journey begins, not in transcending your humanity, but in reclaiming it. The soul does not want perfection. It wants wholeness. And wholeness means the sacred and the profane. The kind and the cruel. The noble and the petty. It means you are not one thing. You are a multitude. A chaotic, shimmering, breathing paradox. But you resist this. You resist the discomfort. You resist the confrontation. Because seeing your shadow means questioning everything. It means admitting you are not always the good person you pretend to be. That you've hurt others. That you've lied to them and to yourself. That your moral compass is sometimes just fear wearing a mask of virtue. And your identity? A fortress built on sand. You may wonder, what then? If I peel back every layer, every mask, what remains? Will I still be lovable? Will I still be real? Yes. But not in the way you think. Because when you meet your shadow, not as an enemy but as an orphan child, you begin to see the wisdom in the darkness. The purpose in the pain. The intelligence of every wound. Your shadow does not want to destroy you. It wants to belong. It wants to be held. It wants to speak. But it speaks in symbols. In nightmares. in fantasies, in obsessions. And when you ignore it, it speaks louder. Until it screams through illness, depression, addiction, and ruin. But when you turn toward it, when you sit with it, listen, stay, you find something unexpected. Not chaos. Not evil. But truth. You find the part of you that was abandoned when you needed to survive. You find the voice that said no when everyone told you to say yes. You find the wildness that was too much for the world, but not too much for your soul. And when you allow that part back in, you do not become monstrous. You become whole. You become someone who can stand in their truth without needing to dominate or submit. Someone who does not need constant validation, because they are not at war with themselves. This is not an easy path. It is not a straight line. It is a spiral, returning to old wounds with new eyes. Falling, rising, falling again. Each time a little closer to what is real. You will lose friends. You will disappoint people. You will be called selfish, rebellious, ungrateful. But you will gain something far more precious: integrity. Inner quiet. A home in your own being. And one day, you will look in the mirror, not the polished, social mirror of roles and rituals, but the raw one. And you will say, there you are. All of you. Not perfect. But true. And that truth. That is where freedom begins. Not in light alone, but in the sacred marriage of light and dark. Not in the denial of the shadow, but in the embrace of your full, trembling, glorious self. And one day, you will look in the mirror, not the polished, social mirror of roles and rituals, but the raw one. And you will say, there you are. All of you. Not perfect. But true. And that truth. That is where freedom begins. Not in light alone, but in the sacred marriage of light and dark. Not in the denial of the shadow, but in the embrace of your full, trembling, glorious self. You may never be finished. There may always be another layer. But the willingness to look, to face, to love what you once feared, that is the mark of a soul becoming real. And so I leave you, not with answers, but with the question that never dies: what is the shadow you still refuse to see? And what might happen if, just once, you chose to see it?